Hello everyone, my name is SJ Eastwood and I work at North Cambridge Academy. My role is to lead on teaching and learning, CPD and early careers. We're part of the Meridian Trust family, but we are an 11 to 16 mainstream school serving a really diverse cohort of students. We are privileged to serve them, but our cohort is a range of 50% pupil premium, 24% of our students are on the SEND register, and almost 34% of our students speak English as an additional language. Our aim is always to deliver high quality education at the heart of our local community. When I started at NCA nearly 4 years ago, our CPD approach was very different. It was very top-down, it left teachers to develop themselves, and it had very little accountability or direction. I inherited that CPD programme and it left me frustrated, and it didn't make the staff very impressed either. Although we did receive really useful training from our Meridian Trust, our in-house training just didn't really meet the mark. It was quite reactive, and we needed to be a more proactive approach to developing our staff. The focus seemed to be very scattergun, and it seemed similar to what we tell staff not to do with students. We were trying to fill the vessel full of knowledge rather than grow in skills and motivation for our staff. CPD seemed like something that we endured rather than enjoyed, and we were on a mission to change that. I felt really strongly, along with my professional tutor and IRIS lead, that we needed a joint focus for our teacher development. We needed a clear trajectory and journey to improve all colleagues, not just teachers. We wanted to support staff to be part of that as well. We wanted to build two very distinct paths at North Cambridge Academy. One side, we wanted to make sure that the standards in our classroom were high and that accountability and expectations were in place. Things like our book looks, our learning walks, our staff and student voices, our results, managed that side. For the development side, we really wanted to develop colleagues in their own interests within the classroom. We felt that the lesson coaching programme that we were going to put in place over the following 18 months, our use of Iris Connect, our use of our trust resources such as our Meridian Learning platform, and the way that we ran our early careers programme was going to be the way that we motivated staff to want to develop further. One of the things that we really wanted to remove was lesson observations. We felt they were antiquated methods of quality assurance. Teachers found them really stressful, they were unpredictable, and they gave us a really poor snapshot of a teacher's ability. The number one reason that I wanted to remove them is because it wasn't putting the teacher in the driving seat of developing their own practice. We needed something appropriate to replace this. Over the first few years of being here, several things happened that made me and the senior leadership team want to change the way that we developed our CPD here at North Cambridge Academy. One of the things is that we were starting to see an excellent early careers programme emerge. With the help of our professional tutor, Louise Vacker, we take on average 10 to 17 ITTs and ECTs each year at North Cambridge Academy, and we put so much into their development. We introduced the IRIS platform and the hardware so that we could instill really deep reflection in our ECTs and ITTs, and we witnessed an immense amount of growth. They accelerated in their progress to the point where most of them now have middle leadership positions and are incredibly strong practitioners in the classroom only 3 years into their time as teachers. At the same time as raising our early careers programme, we were doing lots of work with our curriculum leads. In my first 18 months here at NCA, we had to re-evaluate our curriculum design with each department area. We understood that subject disciplines and every teacher varied greatly, and our message to the departments and our curriculum leads was lead your ship, you are the expert. We wanted to create house styles within the teams, and ultimately we wanted to say, what does English look like at NCA? What does geography or PE look like at NCA? In collaboration with SLT and curriculum leads, we defined parameters and expectations for the curriculum and monitored this in planning sessions and through our new line management structures. But we wanted autonomy and trust to be at the heart of what we were creating here. Seeing our middle leaders and their departments rise to this immense challenge just before our Ofsted came in February 2025 showed that the staff had a real hunger for autonomy and could be trusted with parameters for them to grow from. Hence, the idea of accountability, but also autonomy started to come to the forefront of what we did here. This all culminated in our really successful Ofsted visit in February 2025. We were extremely pleased with what Ofsted saw with us, but this visit did cement that the school needed to work on adaptive teaching. This was also something the Trust wanted to focus on as a collection of schools. This meant that we now had a clear focus, a clear trajectory for whole school development for all staff at NCA. Whether they were support, pastoral or teacher alike, the benefit of adaptive teaching in our classroom and our way of being in the school was our paramount objective. At the same time, I completed a 3-part coaching course set up by Meridian Trust, and it was delivered by John Kane from Can Evolve. This crystallised the impact of a coaching strategy to me. Together, these things all formed the basis for what we currently see now as our CPD programme. So how does coaching work here at NCA now? We wanted to make sure that we had a really strong message behind what we did here. An important quotation has led our thinking throughout the entire process, and that is from Sir John Whitmore's Coaching for Performance. That quotation is, "Coaching is unlocking people's potential to maximise their own performance." We very much wanted this to be apparent in our coaching programme, and we very much wanted staff to feel as though they were truly in the driving seat of their own development. So this formulated into 3 main ways that we now use coaching and IRIS at NCA. We use it, and it's very much embedded into our early careers programme. This is to help all our early careers staff meet the teacher standards and to accelerate their progress within the classroom. They are expected on a weekly or fortnightly basis to record themselves and use those recordings as part of their coaching sessions with their mentors to really dig deep into what's going on in the classroom and what kind of classroom practitioner they wish to be. What we have introduced more recently is our lesson coaching cycles for personalised teacher development. This is where we set a pre-coach, lesson recording, post-coaching cycle, and people work with coaching buddies. We went away from the more traditional side of having set 6 to 10 coaches coach everyone. We wanted it to feel really full of trust and really something that staff could get behind from the get-go. And so we actually chose to make each coaching buddy within the school the coach and the coachee for the programme. This, I think, has been a massive reason for why it has been so successful. One of the things we found really instrumental in this was the fact that you can put everything in one place. We learned that with the early careers programme. We designed a platform for early careers. This was very much meant to be a safe space for colleagues to mentor, to collaborate, to record and to coach, and it still remains a very safe space for that. This included a space where we could have submissions for mentor meetings. We could use the IRIS guides and strategies along with the walkthroughs in order to help develop practice. And mainly it gave an opportunity for mentor and trainee or ECT to reflect in a really deep and meaningful way on their practice. It's very easy to see where you're going right and where you're going wrong when you can see it right in front of you. We guide the programme for early careers through our professional tutor Louise Vacker, and that runs every Monday, where we complement our coaching strategies and our use of IRIS in those sessions to ensure that we're keeping this one goal and this one trajectory going forward at all times. We designed the programme very much for deep reflection, for developmental autonomy, and those things are very much the core principles of what we are trying to do here. The platform and the framework had to make sure that we agreed upon those basic parameters.
I think I'm most proud of just how far everyone has come by using this platform, by using the coaching conversations.
It's less based on performance, it's more led on how people develop at their own pace.
What I enjoyed about the coaching programme was just like, here's 8 strategies, choose one, work on it really well, see how you do with it. There was no pressure, there was no like, oh, you've got to do all these different things at once.
When I started to see kind of the success it was having with the students, I've been able to incorporate that a lot more into my lessons.
With all this fantastic feedback, we just thought, hey, it's a great developmental tool. We already have so many of our staff using it through being trainees, ECTs or mentors. Why not make it a whole school provision? And hence, lesson coaching cycles was born. We invested time really wisely in the year. We wanted to show staff that if we really meant business with this, we had to give the time and the energy to it. And so we used our directed time calendar carefully to make sure that we were regularly adding coaching sessions as well as our post and pre-coaching sessions throughout the school year. We didn't want to do a one-stop shop at the start of the year and then we forget about it. We wanted to make sure we were constantly building on those skills and those reflection times throughout the school year. We provided, in essence, ample time for high quality collaboration and reflection based on where we'd place things in the year. We started with an introduction to coaching and how to use the equipment. We knew there'd be some fears and some reservations there, and we wanted to get rid of those from the get-go. We complemented this with half-termly coaching and practice twilights with John Kane from Can Evolve, and we punctuated the year with the lesson coaching cycles. We do 2 to 3 a year that are directed, but staff have started to do their own on top of that as well. Ultimately, we gave staff 15 walkthrough strategies that our trust had created into videos and resources. We call these ILs, independent online learning sessions. These included things like chunking, live modelling, dual coding, and the important thing was that we were giving staff autonomy in the sense that they could choose what was best for them and their classroom practice, but at the same time we were setting some basic parameters that meant we could hold some accountability as well. These fantastic videos from our trust were embedded into our lesson coaching platform. This made the whole system so easy, and staff could go into the guide section, find the video they wanted to work with, upload it into their coaching pathway, and it just meant that they could reflect on it, go back to it with their coaching buddy on a regular basis. This really streamlined the process. We designed a pathway, as I said before, that followed a pre-coach, record, post-coach and reflect process. We wanted to use the T-GROW model questions for coaching, as John Kane had been educating us and training us on those throughout the year. They were really successful, and we built those into not only the way that the platform is set up, but also into the kinds of questions that we're asking people to ask each other. Again, setting a balance of accountability and autonomy within the framework itself. What this led to after a period of time of about 6 or 7 months is what I like to call the snowball effect. It started to spread to other areas of the school. From the initiatives built over the last 3 or 4 years, it feels like a place now of development, where staff are encouraged to trial new things, not be afraid to make mistakes, and where true reflection is becoming the cornerstone of what we do here. Staff have become so comfortable with the IRIS platform, with our coaching structures and the equipment that we are using to develop themselves. It is growing without being directed. Our pastoral support staff record themselves for assembly and for their trauma-informed approaches that we use here at NCA. The teachers are recording their best practice or new skills, and they're sharing it with colleagues. Our senior leaders are recording expectations of behaviour and movement around the room and sharing that in training sessions. Whole school leads, such as our literacy lead and our numeracy lead, are sharing best practice in whole staff training. So during this whole process, there was a big question around the leadership side of it. How do you provide autonomy as well as accountability? Yes, our framework, yes, our approaches had that balance, but there was something in the leadership as well that meant we had to think carefully about every step of the process. We're always going to get questions as leaders about alignment, accountability, impact, support, and more. But finding the balance between autonomy and accountability with our staff was challenging, and something that we will always have to grapple with in schools. Our staff were absolutely amazing, incredibly receptive, incredibly on board, couldn't have asked for a better team of people to be part of this journey with. However, as amazing as our staff are, there was definitely something in how we led the staff that meant that we got that receptive approach. We did build systems that supported accountability and expectations, the coaching training, the directed time, the adaptive teaching focus, using the IRIS platform, assigning the coaching buddies. But we provided autonomy over the strategies, the reflections, the pace, and their own progress. The online pathways and training outline have been purposely designed to hold staff gently whilst not stifling their own developmental journey. In my opinion, 3 factors were instrumental in creating visibility, alignment, and bringing staff with us. First of all, we did everything we could to alleviate fears and barriers. We created our Iris champions. They were instrumental in helping to show how to use the equipment, show their own recordings, helping people to log into the devices, showing people how to snip, etc., so that they didn't have to come and ask SLT every time if they felt they didn't know how to turn the computer on or off. We made sure we did introductory sessions and touch base with people constantly that we felt were either feeling concerned about the programme or the process, or we felt needed a bit of extra hand-holding in some way. We chose the coaching buddies really carefully. We wanted to remove all dynamics of hierarchy. That was based on what John Kane had told us to do, and for true coaching principles is around removing that hierarchical structure. We wanted to allow for trust and vulnerability, and we didn't want people to feel like they were being judged. A big mantra during this whole process was the process is developmental, never judgmental, and we really wanted people to feel that, and I strongly believe that they did. We made sure that we did breaking the ice activities in the John Kane sessions. When coaching buddies joined up with new coaching buddies, we made sure that the first time they were going into having those conversations wasn't the first time they were doing a pre-coach. They were actually meeting beforehand, loosening up, and starting to get to know each other and starting to trust each other, which again felt really instrumental to the success. We did a lot of reminders, a lot of touching base, a lot of going and finding people in the corridor, checking in on classrooms. We added it to our teaching and learning bulletin, our staff planner. We used the Iris milestones a lot, which was hugely helpful. You could see then who had done the bits you needed them to and who hadn't, and then it meant you weren't bothering everyone all the time. You could go and pinpoint support where it needed to be. I believe that the one-to-one fly-ins and check-ins that myself and Louise, our professional tutor, did were hugely helpful to staff and made them feel really supported. They knew we expected them to develop, but they also knew we were there to support them. Lastly, and most importantly, we jumped in first. Louise showed clips of lessons to early careers teachers, of her own teaching and mentors to get the ball rolling. I showed clips of my own learning before launching the whole school coaching programme. Throughout the year, we asked different teachers to do teacher spotlights to showcase great ideas. We made sure that we used a range of staff from different hierarchical structures. Myself and John Kane even demonstrated a real 20-minute live coaching session. It was really scary, but it was so worth it because staff were in awe afterwards and felt that if I could do it in front of all of them, they could do it happily with their coaching buddy. Louise and I also trialled the Iris pathway before launching to staff, and we made sure that we showed clips of this training on a regular basis. Staff, I felt, were really impressed with our bravery, and it made them want to be brave too. So the outcomes. The buy-in from our highly successful early careers programme has continued to support whole school development and buy-in. I don't believe the lesson coaching would have been as successful without this body of staff championing the impact of this reflective coaching approach. This means that 1 year on from introducing the whole staff lesson coaching programme, we are seeing positive impact based on the anonymous staff feedback that we've received. We've had comments such as the process has been rich and helpful, it helps me to upgrade my skills, it's clear and purposeful, focused on teacher development, it's allowed me to develop in a non-judgmental way. And overall, 94% of our staff have found the experience enjoyable and 97% have found the experience useful. At the same time, we have tangible improvements in the level of adaptive teaching identified across the school. That focus of our lesson coaching for the last 18 months has been that adaptive teaching strand, and we're now seeing that more and more. We're seeing that through the department-based learning walks. They're showing an increase in teachers using adaptive teaching effectively. We're seeing teachers more able to recognise and discuss and implement the adaptive teaching strategies within sessions, meetings and in their lessons. And I think one of the things that you can't buy is there's now a perceptible buzz in the school culture around teacher development that we didn't have before. So some of my key takeaways from this, because I know you'll all be thinking, how do we go about this next? If I was to do this again, these are the things I would tell myself. I would always start with a group of people who are motivated and interested in what you want to do, and I would make them be part of your rollout. I would dedicate as much regular time to the journey as you can to keep motivation high. I would really sit down and think about your staff body. Who will be on board from day one and who is going to need a little more hand-holding? Get your SLT support, your principal, your vice principals, your SLT team, they need to be there and part of it, showing your staff that the project is important and what we're trying to achieve here is something that we're all going to be part of. Work really hard to alleviate fears and stresses and barriers. Nothing puts staff off quicker than being worried about doing something. Try and remove as much of that as you possibly can. Think really carefully about the dynamics of who you're putting together and be prepared to adapt your plans. Keep communication clear and regular. From the feedback, every single member of staff said that the communication that we gave to them was good or outstanding. And I take that as a personal win, along with my excellent professional tutor, Louise Vacker, who was part of that. And my number one thing is be really brave. Jump in, show people that you are part of creating this culture. Actions absolutely speak louder than words. And if we hadn't have jumped in and been part of this journey and showed people that we weren't scared to do it, it wouldn't have been as successful as it was.